Yo, what is going on, guys? Miguel here. So today we're coming at you with a video on how you can catapult your success into door knocking for 2023 and for 2024. Or if you're already doing door knocking, this is how you can definitely improve your game and make sure you can get your conversion to the highest it possibly can get, and make sure you're actually getting really good business and success from doing door knocking. So to give you guys a little bit of introduction, I'm a realtor in London, Ontario, Canada, working with Keller Williams. For anyone who doesn't know where that is, which I'd be kind of surprised if you didn't, it's 2 hours from Toronto, 2 hours from Detroit, right in the middle. I've been licensed since April 2022, which for Ontario and Canada, I don't know about the States, but that is actually when the market directly shifted, right? Like I'm talking like, if you look at the numbers year over year, it just went like this. Like literally like this, like it was like a 8% jump in 1 month, and then it was like 10 or 11, something like that, crazy. The shifted market is all I know, right? And I've built ever since then. I'm a young guy, I'm 26, and I know for a fact just the way the market is, people I know were not going to be doing business with me anytime soon, at least. And the best way for me to, there's two types of people in the world, right? There's people you don't know, and there's people you know. Well, as a young individual, and just about anyone this kind of rule applies to, is you're gonna be better off with people you don't know, because that's a huge larger pool, right? So that's the piece of the pie that I chose to work with, and it's been really good to me ever since, right? So essentially what I did when I started out was like, why door knocking, right? Like, why did I pick door knocking out of everything, right? Well, to kind of break this simple, we don't have here in Canada, if you're not familiar, we do not have access to expired listings, which is a huge lead source in the States, expired listings, and we don't have lists of for sale by owners. Now, we do have access to for sale by owners, but we don't have like a dialer system to set them up, and they also just don't come up very often, right? Now, I see decent success with for sale by owners. Like I actually have a for sale by owner going up next week, or sorry, this week actually, it's Sunday. That's kind of one thing where we really get them like once a week, and they come up on like Kijiji or Marketplace, or you'll see the odd sign in the lawn, right? And then at that point, you have to have a really effective, proper follow-up strategy to go with them. That's for a whole nother thing. It's kind of all revolves around door knocking if you think about it, because you do run into them. So that's the reason why I picked door knocking. Number one, that was one of them, but the other reason too, and I wasn't fully aware of that coming into the business anyways, but the biggest reason for me was, I used to work in a shop, and for me, I always kind of like being outside, right? Whenever I got the opportunity to, I was a tradesman, right? So whenever I got the opportunity to actually go outside and do something for the day, I felt like I was like given the day off. So when I found out about door knocking, and I was like, okay, like I didn't have any fear of talking to random people, right? So, okay, I was like, all right, that's number one already down. And number two, for me, it was, I can be outside from however long, and that's my job. Like that feels awesome, right? I can just go outside for however many hours I want to, and just enjoy the sun, get some exercise, and just talk to people. Like that's a pretty good way to start your day, right? So for me, that was like a no-brainer. So I went towards door knocking. So how did I get started? Well, before I even got my license, I actually watched like a Brian Casella video. I found a video of him doing like a door knocking script with some young guy. I don't even know his name. But basically, he just went through a script, and I just recorded it. Like I just wrote it down word verbatim, and I followed that ever since, and I still do to this day, because the script he used is basically the circle prospecting script that everyone that's more so commonly used through Glover U and Jeff Glover and stuff like that, right? That's the most commonly used and effective script for today's methods, right? It's literally just the same script. So speaking of scripts, I'll be walking you guys through my script later on this video. Now, to lay out the agenda, basically I'm going to be speaking about, I have it like written out, so I'm not going too off topic here, right? So basically we're looking at, today we're going to be looking at the mindset you're going to need to have, which I think is the most important thing when it comes to door knocking at a high efficiency. Number two is going to be your accuracy in the neighborhoods that you're choosing, and instead of going door to door, we're going to discuss what's commonly known right now as hybrid farming, and this is definitely what can help you implementing a stronger business tactic than just going door to door at random. Number three is going to be the materials you can bring, and materials you can bring with you, and the apps you can use to really help track your numbers, and the paper logs you can use, right? And lastly is going to be my script, right? So I'll walk you guys through my script and how I close for whatever the next level is, stuff like that, right? So let's kind of get into it. So we're going to talk about mindset first. I think this is the biggest one, and the most important thing is just having a really strong and effective, efficient mindset when it comes to this, right? Because I'll tell you right now, the first mistake that I made from my first, 12 months was not really looking at it as building a database, more so just looking for, like it was towards building a database, but I was essentially just looking to build it with people, like more so focused on people who were actually a lead, right? Like people who told me, like if I asked them the question if they're going to move, they kind of went like, yeah, we're thinking about it. Funny came, like, Funny came by, or like, you know what, probably in like a year or two, something like that. Then I like kind of go further, right? And then I was still getting a decent sized database. Like from door knocking alone, I filled my database with almost 300 people last year, which is obviously good. But it's gotten even way better now, because if you're looking at it that way, yes, it's going to be good, but that's not the whole purpose. So we're going to kind of talk about mindset through that right now. So basically, the mindset you need to have, and there's 3 levels to the mindset, okay? So number one, when you're going door knocking, your 3 levels of mindset is number one, you're looking to build your database, okay? Looking to build your database is number one. Number 2 is you're looking for a referral, right? Who's looking to buy or sell. I'll be honest, I've had like people that I've followed up with that have already been in my database from door knocking refer some people to me, but right off the door, like just being honest, I've never actually had someone actually refer to me right away. I have had the neighbor actually tell me about, people who are like actually going to sell, like that's been effective. I haven't broken a sale from that yet. People are in my database still, right? So, and number 3 would be immediate business, right? So that's going to be number 3. Now, if you flip these around, it becomes way different, especially if you put number 3 as number 1 and you just kind of elude the other ones. You're not going to see anywhere near as much success as you would if you put building your database as number 1. So the reason why I want to touch on that is because, and it all kind of boils down to this question, right? So when I got this question, and I got this from a guy named, his name's Cameron Ure, like he's pretty popular for like the door knocking stuff, him and Dwayne Richens, like basically I seen a video of him stating like from a while ago, he mentioned this question that just changed the whole game for me. And then I also, pretty well in that same week, I heard I really got on board with Jeff Glover's hybrid farming tactic. And when those kind of like all snowballed in, like my conversion went way high. So I'll touch on my conversion a little bit when we get into the neighborhood, right? But basically the question that I asked was, you'd ask like, hey, if you had any plans to buy a home or sell a home for 2023 kind of thing, right? And they would say, if they said no, I would immediately, the old times I'd just be, okay, yeah, well, who else do you maybe know that's looking to make a move, right? Well, now if they say no, I test them, right? And I'll just say, okay, that's great. So I take it this is your forever home. So when you ask that question, it's huge, because if they stutter at that, or they go like, oh no, this isn't my forever home, boom, you can go into the questions, because at some point they're going to be looking down the road to move, and at some point, right, or they're just going to be able to refer you at that point, because then you go into the questions, and some people that say, oh, I don't know, sometimes it actually becomes they're actually looking to move. When you ask more questions, right, they're actually looking to move like within like the year, right? And it's happened multiple times from asking that one question, right? And even then, you're just looking to add them to your database, if anything, right? Because at that point, you're getting in front of them, right? The whole idea is to just get someone in your database and just be that person that's top of mind, right? You want to get to the point, and we'll touch more on this in the neighborhood, but you want to get to the point where these people that you're going to see, you're the first person that comes to their mind, right? That's the whole name of the game, right? So even if they're like not going to be moving, but you had a really good conversation, right? There's some people like, oh, I'm not moving here like ever, right? And then just kind of like, okay, whatever, you breeze by the conversation. But sometimes those people you even have a good conversation with, they're not going to move, but you had a really good conversation. Go ahead and just get their info, right? You don't have to get their phone number, just get their email, right? And then just set them up for a market update, right? Sometimes those people actually revert to something. I tell you right now, I have people that I've listed, 2 people this year within the last 3 months that I've listed from meeting door knocking that didn't actually really have any plans, but something came up in their life. That's the key. Everything kind of comes up in people's lives all the time, right? So people have to move for various reasons. Things come up. You never know what's going to happen in someone's life, right? If you have a good conversation, you feel like you could do business with them, go for the close and add them to your database, right? Obviously, don't ask like, hey, what if I could show you this, because obviously common sense comes into play where you're not going to go book an appointment, but if they're not going to move, but you had a good conversation, you never know what's going to happen in the future. So add them to your database, right? So I can tell you right now from just, making the mistake and falling forward, your biggest thing should be just looking to add people to the database. And of course, if you have the close there and you run into someone who's like, probably going to move, ask more questions and try to close for an appointment, right? Depending on where they're at. Always close for the next level. So that's the biggest thing. Mindset. If you can have that mindset of just adding people to your database and building your database to become the first choice for these people that live in these areas, you're going to kill it and your conversion is going to go up. Now, before I kind of jump, I'm going to jump into neighborhoods here, but speak real quick on conversion. So on average, I'm converting between 20 to 25% of people I'm meeting at the door to, not to an appointment, okay, like to a database, like people I'm getting information. So on average, 1 out of every 4 to 5 people I'm adding to my database. And that's just because I'm straight up asking that question, or I'm just building good rapport at the door. You just want to build good rapport at the door. You want to ask good questions. And then at that point, you're just a stranger at the door when they first meet you, right? But if you can build good rapport, just like really make them feel like, you know, they want to use you at some point or have someone else use you, that's great. You're just building your database and your conversion goes up. Again, my average numbers, it's 22%. Like it's on the app that I'll be talking about, but I have a 22% for the whole year so far, right? Lately, it's been about 25%. Like I'm converting 1 out of every 4 people I'm meeting at the door. It's been pretty strong, right? So yeah, I'll tell you guys right now, if you go in with that mindset and you just ask that one question, is this going to be for your forever home? You are going to convert way higher at the doors and you're going to be laughing, right? So that's number 1, is going to be mindset. Number 2 is going to be the accuracy on the neighborhood you're picking, okay? So again, I did this going in. At first, I was just going cold doors, right? Like I was just going door to door, and then I started tightening up a little bit in the fall, and then when the winter went by, I really had a plan and structure, which was the hybrid farming technique, right? Where I just go to these neighborhoods once a month, and we're going to talk about that, right? So cold doors is when, and you can do cold doors. I mean, like I had sales from cold doors, it's fine. At least you're getting people in your database, but you're not going to see anywhere near as much success as if you farm a neighborhood through door knocking, okay? And how do you do this? Well, number 1, you want to pick an area that has between at least a 4% turnover rate, right? For me, these neighborhoods I'm going to are between 6 and 7%, and they're typically people's secondary home. Now, why do I say that? Well, it's because the secondary home is typically where a lot of issues can come up in people's lives, where they'll have a divorce because they have a growing family, or stuff just happens where they want to go to the next home, right? Usually that's like the next step. They're kind of like not final home, but they're like big prize money home kind of thing. But a lot of these times, like their divorce situations, or their kids need to go to another school, or they moved out, right? Homes like that, right? So these shoebox homes, right, that aren't super old, right? So I'm talking like a lot of these homes aren't built like older than 2000. Like it's 2000 plus. Usually the average home age is between 7 and 10 years old. It might even be like 15 is average, right? That's all fine. Just you want to pick these neighborhoods that have like shoebox style homes where people aren't going to be staying there forever, right? The other thing you want to look at too is, so obviously turnover and the type of home, right? But the other thing you want to look at too is what's future going to happen in that neighborhood, right? Do they have any development plans going on? Do they have any, what kind of schools are there, right? What kind of people are moving in and out of there, right? You want to make sure what's going on with that, like what kind of highway access is going, right? Like this is all very important to understand, right? So to give you a perceived idea of like these areas I'm going to, sorry, the washing machine singing at me right now, it's kind of distracting me, but basically the way I can kind of explain to you about one of these neighborhoods I'm going to is this neighborhood, there's construction all around it, so people are going to be moving because of that alone. And there's a lot of there's a new school in the area, so a lot of people are trying to move into there. The school district's starting to become a hot area, and a lot of people are also noticing that with all the developments and how close to the highway, it also has a nature preserve there too. So it's bringing in a lot of people, but a lot of people are also moving out because it's also a secondary home. So you want to like do research and stuff like that on the neighborhood specifically. Now, going into how often you should be seeing these people. Now, I used to have a limiting belief of, I'm going to be bothering these people if I go see them for the second time and stuff, right? And it's honestly, that's actually hurting you, because you'll notice once you go around the second time or the third time, you're going to get more people in the database because they're trusting you at that point, right? The whole idea is you want to try to aim to get back to these neighborhoods about once per month. I know it's hard. Like for me, I expanded my area recently. It's likely I'm going to get to these areas within once every 2 months, because my area is a lot larger now. But for me, I'm scaling my area because I know there's a lot in that other neighborhood that's going to give me more business, right? As long as these people are seeing me on a consistent basis, that's okay. But basically, you want to be in these neighborhoods, try to get in these neighborhoods as frequently as possible. The best idea for you would be pick a neighborhood or neighborhoods that add up to about 2,000 homes. So that way you can do on average 100 doors 5 days a week, and you can circle back once a month, right? When you're circling back once a month, you're basically just going in, updating the neighbors on what's going on in the neighborhood, what new listings are for sale, stuff like that, and then obviously trying to get them into your database as you're going, right? the whole goal through, so basically the goal you want when you're going to these neighborhoods is you want to meet between 80 to 90% of the homeowners in that neighborhood, and you want to convert. If I'm converting on 25%, if I'm meeting 90%, that means I have a solid chance of getting between 5 and 4% of the, sorry, that is so wrong. I'm going by increments here. Sorry. You're going to be getting about 20% of the 20% of the area in, right? It's more so like being realistic numbers. It's probably gonna be between 10 and 15%. But imagine having 1 out of every 10 people in that neighborhood knowing who you are in your database. You then become the obvious choice, right? So basically the process is gonna be like, you're looking down the road of about at least a year or two. It's really about the average numbers. Like for me, I'm starting to see a lot of results now in some of these neighborhoods I'm going to, is where it's about 12 months. Like you got to give it a 12-month span to be really going into these neighborhoods, right? So yeah, so basically it's the accuracy in the neighborhood, and then it's also the consistency and frequency that you're going into the neighborhood, right? So that's kind of the neighborhood goal you want, right? Now, the other thing I'm going to talk about is the materials you're going to want to use, right? So I can touch on this quickly, right? So basically, I used to go to the doors, and again, I'm always going to touch on like the mistakes I made so I can help you guys improve and not make the same mistakes I did. So basically, you want to bring a piece of value with you, right? Like, and I'll walk you guys through the materials I use for my door knocking. So you want to bring like a flyer, not just a business card. Like you want to bring a flyer, right? And I know it's hard when you're new, because when you're new, you really don't have any money and you're not going to be making money for like 6 months, right? It's a proven fact, right? So, but you want to find a way to spend like, the extra money a month to get some flyers. And I used to be highly against flyers and stuff because people would always be like, oh, hey, you got a flyer there. And then it'd be hard to trade information with them after, right? Now, I've gotten to a point where, and I'll touch on this in scripting, where even if they take your flyer, once you build enough rapport with them, they almost forget they have the flyer, and then you can just trade their information, right? We'll get to that on scripting, right? But basically, you want to bring something of value with you because, and again, I was highly against bringing something of value because I didn't want them taking something that would have a lower chance of getting their information. That is wrong. You want to bring something of value so that when they're not there to see you, they've already seen a flyer of yours, right? And then at least they know you either came by, or when they see you, they already know who you are from the postcard. It actually happens once you're in there on the 4th time, people will realize that you're that person on the postcard, right? Especially if you look at like your own photos, right? So I'll give you an example of what I use. So I have 3 different ones I use, right? I'm just going to show you the one that I'm using right now that I'm delivering to these neighbors. So basically, you can see it right here. I don't know how close. I'm actually using a brand new phone today. It's an iPhone 14. I don't know how in screen that is, but basically, if you can see, right? So basically, this is one of the 3 flyers it uses, and it's a claim your free pre-listing inspection, right? So it says on the back, like, why are pre-listing inspections always good and stuff like that, right? Like the 3, so this is just one of them, but I'm going to break down the 3 that I use. And you don't want to keep having a call to action because it just looks the same, right? And I'm also going to say the material stuff that's going to help match the neighborhood you're going to, right? So number 1, you're going to want a call to action. I'm using 3 because it's on a quarterly basis, right? It switches up every quarter, right? Or sorry, it refreshes itself every quarter. So basically, number 1 is you're going to have like a call to action, right? Saying like caller. One of mine says like, let Miguel handle your most valuable investment. It's like a bunch of homes, and then it's like me on the back with like a free neighborhood update, right? And then it's this one that has, claim your free pre-listing inspection, right? First 25 people are eligible. The other one that I use is it's a real estate tip, right? So it'll be like, hey, it'll be me on the front saying, hey, this is your real estate tip. The next one I have going out is a roof. It's like how a nice new roof can benefit you, or a metal roof, stuff like that, right? It's something that gives a home seller advice on why you should have a nice presentable roof, right? And then on the back is going to be someone I actually met door knocking. He's my roofing guy. I met him door knocking. Can you believe it or not? You'll meet some pretty crazy people door knocking. Not crazy. You will meet crazy people, but you'll meet some really good business partners door knocking. I've met like 4 of my business partners door knocking, believe it or not. So basically, a lot of people actually use him in this neighborhood too. And he's going to be on the back with his information, right? So it's a good way to partner with people. And you can even set up like a sponsorship and stuff like that if you want to, right? So that's not a call to action. So basically you're switching it up every time, and the real estate tip you can make different every single time, right? Partner with certain companies, stuff like that, right? It just gives people value, and that they get the idea that it's different every time. They're actually expecting it to come in, right? Not just, and you want to make sure the home that you're using on the thing matches the neighborhood, right? So I have someone that farms my neighborhood, and he uses like these like big homes. Like I'm from these like single detached homes that some of them were built in like the 20s, right? This one was not built in the 20s, built in like the 60s or something like that. But you see where I'm going at. This guy has like basically a brand new construction home on the front. It just does not match anything whatsoever of any of these homes in this neighborhood, right? So he's not showing credibility that he's the agent to best connect, right? For me, these homes that I'm using are the most similar. I'm finding them on Canva, right? But they're the most similar homes to these neighborhoods I'm going to. They're all the same style of homes, right? So when you're doing the stuff, you want to make sure it's very similar to what they're doing, right? Now, if you're in Canada and you can't door knock in the winter, some people do. I don't know why, but if you're not going to be door knocking in Canada, you want to get as much as you can done in the summer and spring and fall. But when it comes to wintertime, hire a flyer service to get these out once a month so they still see you, okay? So that's basically what I'm going to leave it on for that. The last thing I'm going to say for materials is you're going to want an app to help. You're going to have to know how to track your numbers, right? So the easiest way to track your numbers when it comes to door knocking, there's an app that I use called Harvast. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but it is the app that I use. It's called Harvast. It's really good in the sense that it also tracks your lead conversion as well. And it tells you if they've been home, if they've not been home, and you can put their name, information, and then you can also log them as a lead, right? So lead is like blue, a lead is blue, not interested is red, and then not home is gray, right? So the not homes, you're going to want to make sure you get to them. But the thing you got to watch out is that once you circle the neighborhood again, it doesn't count the amount of doors you knocked on. So you're going to want to bring like a contact sheet, right? So I have the Glover U contact sheet. If you guys are part of Glover U, you guys don't know Glover U, go to the Glover U Facebook page. They have the contact sheet available. I think you can actually find it on their website. I'm not sure. But yeah, you can find the Glover U contact sheet there. That's a really good way of just tracking your numbers. But if you have this app, that's all you need, right? So I didn't bring my binder down, but basically because you want to keep these hidden. Like, so when you're door knocking, you're going to have your app, right? And then I also have like a binder, like a small, like a binder, like with a clip. So basically I have a clip to make sure these hold on the back so the prospect cannot see these. So it's tucked away in the back. They can't see it because I don't want them seeing that I have some sort of flyer, so they can just go, oh yeah, give me a flyer, right? So it's basically tucked away in the back, and then it just goes through the whole script, and then boom. I don't want to give these away if someone's home, right? Like, these cost money. Don't take your business cards either. I don't take my business card. I have one glued to my my binder so people know who I am, right? You can have a name tag, but I just glue mine to the binder so people know who I am. I always point to it. You likely see me around the neighborhood, right? So yeah, that's how you want to set up, right? So again, buy a binder with a clip. Just put these to the back so they can't see it, and then have your Glover U contact sheet. You don't need your Glover U contact sheet if you have the app. So if you have Harvest app, go ahead, just use it. But once you circle the neighborhood, you'll have to use a contact sheet because it won't be tracking your numbers again. But you'll still be able to log people's leads in there, right? So yeah, so that's all you need for materials. So to wrap the materials up, have those three different, make them on Canva, right? And then just order them momentarily. I usually order them in bundles of 2,000, right? It only cost me like $160 after shipping, which is crazy. Definitely a good investment. And then make sure you have the Harvest app, and then make sure you have your binder to tuck those away, right? So yeah, so that's that. And then in terms of the script, so I'll tell you guys about my script, and then I'll also just touch on how many doors I knock on a day. So let's say I'm going out. It's usually, what are the best times to door knock? People say like 3:30 to 5. Honestly, I don't see a difference ever. For me, it's just Monday to Friday. It's just Monday. Friday I try to keep more towards servicing. If I have a goal calls, which are usually happening during July, I'll save my Fridays for I have a goal calls, right? And like follow-up calls. I won't door knock that day, right? That's about it. But your best days are Monday to Friday, and I usually go out for 9 a.m. to 12. Right? So I'll get 3 hours of door knocking in. Usually in 3 hours you can get 100 doors done. Sometimes it's longer. It's usually 3.5 hours it can take, right? But if I'm really on my horse and I'm just kind of going through real quick, I can get through 3 hours for 100 doors, right? But if you're having really meaningful conversations, it could take you 4 hours to get through 100 doors for sure, right? If you're having a really meaningful conversation, you're hitting about 30. So again, to touch on numbers before I jump into my script, basically you can expect one out of every four people will answer the door. So if you're going to 100 doors, you can expect 25 contacts on average. Okay, so basically, it is a slower burn, right? It's a lot longer to get your contacts in, and obviously it's not as fast as a lead gen, but keep in mind, when you're doing door knocking, it's the best way to build your business and brand, right? It's also a good way to build credibility to your listing appointment, saying, hey, I met you door knocking, right? You know what I mean? So it goes it's a long approach. Again, keep that in mind. So okay, so now that we got that all in the way, let's go to the last part, which is the script. So what is the script I use? Well, I'll break it down for you real simple, right? So I have the intro, which is like telling people about like new listings and sales in the neighborhood, right? I'm just updating people on that, and like if there isn't a lot of activity, I just kind of touch on the average price point, right? It doesn't have to be too specific. You're just trying to open up the conversation for a four. You can literally just say it as simple as like, hey, you know, the housing market's high here right now. We're up 5% year over year. Just the housing market's still high, whatever. Still see multiple offers. Just curious, given some of this, any plans to buy or sell, buy a home or sell your own, right? So basically you're going to have your opening pitch, right? And then I'll just give you guys my most common one when I lead into the script. Your first question is going to be, how long you've been living here for? Right. First question is how long you've been living here for. Next one is how has the area changed since you've been here? Now, if they've only been here for like a year or two, I'll switch it up to say how has the neighborhood been treating you since you've been here, right? Instead of how much change have you noticed? The third question is before you came here. Now, so they'll say, you know, it kind of relates to this question, right? They'll say like 15 years. Okay, so 15 years ago, where did you move in from, right? Number four is, okay, what took you from A to B? And what was it about the neighborhood that brought you specifically here that interested you, right? Number five is, if you were to move again, where do you think you might go? Like, what's your next ideal living situation, right? And then how soon would that be? You're gonna like try to like get more information through that one question alone, right? Like, what's taking you there, right? Those kind of those deeper questions will go into that last number five, right? So I'll just kind of like give a role play real quick, just so you guys can hear out what I say at the doors. And this video alone, again, guys, if you guys follow this, you guys are just gonna catapult from the doors, right? So basically, I'll give you guys a script. So the prospect says hello. I'll say hello. Keep in mind, off script. Keep in mind whatever they say. Yeah, hi. They say like, yeah, hi, or they say hello, or hello, like whatever. You want to match that immediately, and it builds. I'll tell you right now, it builds your report. When they say, like, yeah, hi, and you go like, yeah, hi, they kind of just go like lit up. Like I'm not. You'll notice it when you start door knocking, right? So don't just go like, hi, my name's Miguel, like a robot. Like just match them immediately. Like just say. Let's just say, for example, the script starts. So I'm not going to go off script here. I'm just going to go right into the script. So. Yeah, hi. My name's Miguel. I'm a realtor in the area. I'm from the neighborhood, right? I work here in London with Keller Williams Realty. I take you're the homeowner, correct? Great. So I don't want to take up a lot of time. The main reason I'm out, you know, the market's fairly high. I don't know if you just seen actually, 123 Main Street just sold for $780,000. Did you hear about that? Yeah, that's really good. And what that tells us is that, you know, when you're seeing activity like that, you're going to start seeing 1, 2, 3. A lot of the neighbors are going to start coming up for sale, especially with, you know, September coming around, the school year, right? Now, I didn't know if this was a lot of value for you. It may or may not have been. I was just curious at the same time if you had any plans to buy a home or sell your own for 2023. Okay, and then they're going to tell you whatever. Okay. Yeah, okay, so they tell you they're not going to move. Okay, yeah, and just so I'm aware, it sounds like are you going to be staying here forever? Is that what I hear you saying? Is this your forever home? Okay, no, great, that's amazing. So how long have you actually been here for? Okay, have you noticed any change since you've been here? So 20 years ago, where did you move in from? Okay, that's amazing. And what brought you from A to B? And what was it about the neighborhood that specifically brought you here? Oh, that's great. And yeah, you know, you have this is where you're going to want to start hinting things in the neighborhood, right? And, or even when you ask about change off script, obviously, you're going to want to start like hinting about your knowledge of the neighborhood, right? They have those high rises go up, whatever, right? We'll go to the last question. So just one more question before I let you go. You know, if you were to move again, you know, where do you think you might go? Like, what would be your next ideal living situation? Okay, and what's important to you about going there? Do you have any friends or family that live there? Start building rapport through these questions. Okay, and ideally, how soon would you like to be there? Like how soon would you like to be there? Like what, if you got to pick a perfect moving day today, what day would that be that best suits with your lifestyle at the moment? Whatever they tell you, right? And what's important to you about that specific time frame. Okay, so they tell you they want to be moved in a year, right? Say, I got a job that's going to start in a year, whatever. That's the most obvious way I can suit a time frame, right? Okay, I know he's going to be moving for a year. Okay, great. So John, again, sorry, my name's Miguel, and your name was John. Okay, John. So John, yeah, I know you got no plans for at least the year coming. Now, John, would you maybe find any value if it kept you up to date with any new listings, sales, average price point, just within our immediate area, just to keep you informed in the meantime? Would you find any value in that, John? Yes, you would? Okay, great. John, what's the best email for you? Open the app, write down their email. And then, John, are you a 519 or a 226? After you put their email down, 519 or 226? Start typing it in, right? 519 or 226 is my area code, just to let you guys know. That's off script. Whatever your area code is, so follow that up right after you save the email address, and it's going to be 519 or 226, right? Start writing it down. Almost always, it's very rare they don't give you the phone number. And if they don't, well, you get their email, you come back, and you still keep talking to them, right? Once they're in your database, you don't have to keep going seeing them. Once I have them in my database, I'm still dropping off the flyer just so they see me enough, right? The whole idea is they want to keep seeing you, right? That's the whole purpose of real estate, because when they are ready to do something, you're in front of them, right? That's the one thing I can give you guys, and that's going to be the wrap for the video. Guys, if there's one thing you can take from this and you're a new realtor, the biggest thing is that you are going to get lucky and find some immediate business door knocking if you do it enough. But here's the thing. You have to understand that it is a slower burn, right? And it'll take time. And you're going to have to be patient with it and just make sure that the whole goal, you don't want to keep bugging people. You want to just be that person of trust and follow a constructive follow-up plan. And that will be for another video. I'll tell you guys how I follow up with these people. And yeah, because it's too much to just fit in one video. This is probably more than enough to fit in one video, but I hope this helps, guys. Again, this is the one-stop shop for any of your door knocking stuff. Then you can go elsewhere. Like people that have been doing this way longer than me, like Brian Casella, stuff like that. You obviously want to check him out. I'm not saying I'm a master by any means. I'm only I'm not even 2 years licensed into the business. I'm like a year and a third maybe. But door knocking is something I've been really passionate about and something I've really learned the ropes on, and something I've just really built a good business around, right? So I thought I'd just share you guys my knowledge, and I hope this really helps. If you guys have any further questions, shoot me a comment below, and we'll see you in the next one. Talk to you soon.